Hey guys, Shay here from Full on a Journey. Welcome to the channel, or if you have been here before, welcome back. If you are new, please subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I do not upload regularly, but everything I upload is tarot or spiritual practice related. So if you're liking it, maybe watch a couple other of my videos and subscribe. So what am I talking about? I want to talk about some what have I been consuming lately, some decks I've been using, some books that I've been reading, and talk about some YouTube videos I've been watching. Every time that I think I'm watching everybody who has a tarot channel, YouTube says, you are definitely wrong, here's like 60 more, which is awesome, and I think that's great. But interestingly, I have been getting a bunch of recommended videos that are all about like culling my collection, getting rid of hundreds of decks, Annie hauls, like just getting rid of decks, like the anti-consumerism, complaining about consumerism, talking about, all these walkthroughs and unboxings are toxic. It's been very much in that vein. So one, what is YouTube trying to tell me? And two, I have mixed feelings about that specific topic. And the more my feelings are mixed about something, the more I want to watch those videos and try to figure out where they're coming from, what that means, and if I agree or not. And I think that there's definitely a side of it that is toxic. I think there's only one unboxing on my channel, and it was the Guild Tarot when it was still out of print. And I uploaded that because I was so excited. It really came from a place of joy and enthusiasm. Looking back on that, before the Guild Tarot went back into print, that is kind of showing off. That's kind of saying, haha, I've got this out of print deck that you don't have, and if you want it, you're gonna have to break your bank for it. So yeah, I mean, I can see both sides, but I would like to point out that there are ways to consume that kind of stuff in a helpful way, because I do think that most of the people who upload that stuff do it for joy and want to share joy. If you're getting toxic things from it, fine, don't watch. But my suggestion, I'm someone with a really large collection. If you haven't watched my previous video on how I rotate my decks and use my decks, I keep 13 out at a time. They're very wildly different, but there's 13 out at a time, which means I have this huge tower that is chock full of all of my not currently in use decks. So for example, one of the decks that's currently put away, that would be, I don't want to say like impossible to get to, but it's a little bit harder than just grabbing it off a shelf, right? So a harder deck to retrieve for me would be the Mythic Tarot. So maybe I want to watch a review of the Mythic Tarot because it's not out right now, but I have it. What are other people doing with it? What are some really beautiful cards that I entirely forgot about? Watch reviews of decks you have. See what different people have to say about the cards. That's one of the things I really like about walkthroughs is people see things in cards and in the imagery, and they sort of have a way of rambling as they're looking at that image about what they think about what that card means and whether or not that image reflects it or is something different or changes how they see it. There's definitely some value in that. And if you're somebody who is getting toxic things from it, maybe just watch those about decks that you already have so that you're not tempted to just buy. Also, in the vein of purchasing things, everybody has a different scale, right? So when you're talking about, do I want to buy this or not, you're weighing how much do I want it versus how much does it actually cost, right? Happiness value versus monetary value, and do I have other bills that I really need to pay first? I, on both of these, came up with it's not worth it. I was really into it. I'd been stalking this one since before the Kickstarter even went up. And this one just kept popping up on my Instagram in just really beautiful ways. And I started watching some videos about it, and I was just really on the fence. And because I was on the fence, I didn't push the button. And I waited long enough that it popped up on the Facebook buy sell trade. And I got both of them for about $10 less than they are on the website. That's it, just $10. And $10 less was all I needed to have me pull the trigger and get them. And I'm very glad that I did, and I'm absolutely going to do a review of this one because I don't think that there are enough that really talk about the magic in this deck. There are quite a few that I've seen on YouTube of this one, so I'm not as in a hurry, but there are just not enough people talking about this, and it's amazing. And had I known how much I was going to like it and how much I was going to use it, yeah, I would have spent the money. But I just didn't know that until it was in my hand. So I just want to put that out there as a, maybe it's how you're consuming those types of videos that is negatively affecting you instead of those videos themselves. And if you have not watched a review of some of the decks that you really love from other people, you should try it. Okay, so that's the opinion piece. The only other thing I wanted to put out there, opinion-wise, is about this one. Let's go ahead and do it. I was trying to move on from the opinions, but that's fine. We're 6 minutes in. Let's do it. Okay, so about 3 days after I got this one, it was announced that there was going to be a volume 2. And I immediately, in my brain, started arguing with myself, buy it, don't buy it. You should buy it because this. You should not buy it because this. And I started to build some anxiety around it that I did not need or want. And it always surprises me that it takes me a minute to remember to do this, but I stopped, what I was doing. I turned off my brain, and I pulled some cards from this deck, from volume 1, about do I want, do I need, should I purchase the pre-order for volume 2? To which she promptly and clearly replied, you hate pre-orders. What are you even thinking? Wait until it's available and then decide if you want it or not. You're right. Thank you for explaining to me I have no patience, and that's why I should not buy this pre-order. But yeah, just remember that when you're toying and pulling and gnawing on things in your brain, we have cards for this. Draw some cards. Okay, so decks that I have been using, obviously, I'll do like a little. There we go, that's in frame, I think. The Pythia Botanica, that is really doing well for me. The Maiden Oracle, same creator. I've got these in order, so I've got to be careful as I'm sort of flashing some. So this one does the majors. So it does the majors first, like the normal tarot majors, and then it goes into like extra majors. So like instead of going into minors, it's like it's staying all major and it's extended. And I just really enjoy it. It's given me some great stuff. There is a really interesting wordplay going on, and the poetry that is in the guidebook is really inspiring, and it's actually the guidebook that makes me really want to get my hands on that volume 2 of that one, but I don't have patience, so I'm just gonna wait until it is readily available. This guy is super cool, and not enough people are talking about it. As I just explained, I do keep some of my decks like put away, and I pull them out sort of at a certain time. I kind of have like a whole process, and this deck completely bypasses the entire process and stays out next to my chair, and I have it next to me literally always. This is the only deck that I've ever been inspired to do that with. So for me, it's definitely a unique one, which is why I want to put up a review, because I think people need to know how totally awesome it is. Just my opinion. The other thing that is pretty cool that I have done recently is because I got a new botanical, and if you haven't watched, you don't know, but I had 4. So I had 4, one for every season, and then because I got a 5th one, I decided that what I really needed to do was smash these together. So the pink flowery back is the Language of Flowers Oracle, and the black and like starry flower moon back is the Flowers of Night Oracle. And I made them one monster deck. I feel like every video I make is sort of just me talking about how Don Michelle at Boho Tarot is full of really brilliant ideas that we should all try. But I mean, it's just a fact. She had a video where she combined some oracle decks, and I thought, hey, this is perfect. It's the same creator. There are some duplicates, so you can't actually just like smash it together. You got to do some work, pull out the duplicates, decide which ones from which deck you want to keep. But it ended up pretty balanced between the two, and it's been going really well. I like it. It's been fun. And now there are 70 of these. No, 72? I think there's 72 total now, so that's pretty cool. Books that I have been reading. This one is very much a beginner's book, so just sort of fair warning, if you're somebody who kind of knows what they're doing already, you're not going to get as much out of this as a beginner would, but you will definitely get some things. I personally don't consider myself a beginner, and what I got out of it were there were some really good ideas for spiritual practice at the beginning of every chapter, and there are some really great spreads. So the chapters are sort of split. Let's go to the beginning of, yeah, we'll do the High Priestess. So like 2, meditating with tarot cards, kind of gives you like a little rundown. Then it gives you a little spread. Okay, then it tells you all about the High Priestess, and then all the 2s. And then it gives you like an active lesson, like an exercise to do out in the world. And the lessons are super awesome. But the spreads are really cool, and they sort of tell you how they came about. So specifically, we're going to be looking at this one right here, and it is the destination spread, and he made it up in an airport. So it's in the shape of a plane, and it's pretty cool. I think that if you're interested, you can sort of pause and read the positions and go for it. And yeah, I've been really enjoying sort of pulling that out, checking out the spiritual practice that it suggests, and working through the spreads. And there's always a little bit of a different opinion when you're reading someone else's card meanings. So it's not that I get nothing out of that. I just kind of already have a good idea. I am reading this right now, so I haven't finished where I am right here on the black bookmark. But this is amazing. I'm really sad that the Brotherhood of Light did not do the whole series. So if you can see, if I can get the glare off, this is volume 6, the Sacred Tarot, but they didn't do the whole series in the hardback. All the rest are paperback. I'm probably gonna have to get them, because I'm gonna be honest, the way this is written is so, it's academic in that it's really deep, and it covers a wide variety of topics in a way that is very condensed down and easily accessible. And yet still, it doesn't read like a textbook. Like, it is clearly a textbook. Like, there are, lessons and activities, and it's, it goes through, this is how we are presenting these topics in a way that's super organized and logical. But it just really reads like someone who's standing in front of a class and is working through the tarot cards. Okay, 1 is the Magician. Let's talk about 1, the big overall concept of 1 and oneness. And then let's talk about the Magician. Okay, the Magician is number 1. The Magician is letter A, or whatever. What the Magician is in alchemy, what the Magician is in a tarot reading, what the Magician is where you can find it biblically. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in here. The way that they have that sort of organized is really good, and it has these huge, let me see if I can find one. There are a couple of like massive spreads. Of course I can't. That was one. Yeah, a bunch of these diagrams are some of them are card layouts, like to understand the connection of the cards between each other. And then this one is an actual spread. There's another big spread somewhere, but who knows? There's some, yeah, they sort of break everything down into like categories. So like for Arcanum 4, you get talk about the number, talk about the astrology, talk about the human function, talk about the alchemy, talk about the Bible, talk about masonry, talk about magic, talk about initiation, and then you talk about the fours. And then you get reversed, which is pretty cool. And it kind of just keeps going from there, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with the minors, because I know it does go more in depth in the minors than just the little blip they get at the end of the major chapters, but I don't really know what's going to happen with that yet, but I think it's going to be cool. The other thing that I wanted to point out is if I have suddenly inspired you to put a deck together like this one, you will have a problem, or you may not. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Okay, but when I know when I have some kind of indication from the back what a card will be on the front, it affects how I draw cards and how I shuffle. A couple other decks that do that, like the Creativity Oracle, where it's got the word on one side and then the pictures on the other. I also have the Story World Oracle, where it has all of the information on the back and the picture and the keyword on the front. I have struggled. Like, I mean, I've tried everything from shuffling with my eyes closed, I do not recommend, to, you know, trying to just like look away when I pick a card from a fan. It hasn't been going well. Recently, I came to the brilliant idea of a number selection. So what you would do is say, we're going to get 3 cards. We will pick the number 4. So then you would draw 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I would have consciously tried to make sure that I got 1 from each deck, but that would have changed the message, right? So instead of worrying about which deck did it come from, I just want a random card. So just a suggestion if you're somebody else who sort of struggles with that. And then the other one that I have, another suggestion for sort of the same problem, is taking your whole deck. I typically would do this with like smaller decks like Cartomancy, Lenormand, and then set spreads. And yes, I know a lot of people don't use these particular kind of spreads with Lenormand, but it was just an example of a deck with not a lot of cards. So you would say like, here's position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, then you just deal the cards. And then you would go for the number of the position, right? So this is number 1, first card. This is 2, second card. This is 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, and 5, and 6. So just another way to randomize things if you sort of need some help. Also, I find that the focus that I have to put in to dealing out a whole deck. So if I deal out a deck of 78 tarot cards, which I have done a couple of times in a spread of 7 cards, it takes a little bit. And it really helps you to focus and to really bring in the whole message, because it took you a long time to get there. So you're not going to leave anything on the table. You're going to want to get everything that you can out of it. Or at least that is what I have personally discovered about myself. If there are any other questions or comments about some things that I had to say about walkthroughs and deck reviews and YouTube weirdly thinking that I need to be watching all of these anti-haul videos, feel free to leave it in the comments. I always appreciate anybody that wants to give me any of the time out of their day. follow me on Instagram if you want to see more of the decks that I have, and if you would like a daily journal prompt based on a tarot card, that is where I post that every day. And as always, thanks for watching.